It has always been hard for me to understand what was going on inside me. I, an ordinary guy, with my office job, a routine of working under a CLT contract, and a peaceful life, but still not knowing what was missing. Until everything changed the day I got on that bus. It was at the end of an ordinary day, maybe a bit tiring, when I boarded the bus and saw him for the first time. The driver, tall, strong, with that deep gaze, as if he could see beyond what you were trying to hide. I had never felt so nervous getting on public transportation. I knew, in that moment, that something had changed in my life, but I had no idea how much. In the first few days, I would just observe him from afar. Whenever the bus was empty enough for our gazes to meet, there was a kind of tension in the air, an electricity. And the most curious thing, he seemed to notice it. It wasn't like something from a movie or a fantasy. It was real, as if our destiny had already been traced, and we were just waiting for the courage to make the first move. One afternoon, after work, he called me. It was one of those days when the sky was heavy but didn't rain. He told me to wait a little. I was nervous, my hands trembling, but somehow I knew this moment was inevitable. When the last light on the bus went out and the streets were quiet, he came up to me. The feeling of being so close to someone you knew you shouldn't want, but somehow couldn't avoid, was new and at the same time reassuring. "You're different," he said, his voice rough, almost whispering. He wasn't just referring to my gaze, but to the way I behaved, as if he knew something was changing in me. And it was right there, in the alley next to the station, that he kissed me for the first time. It wasn't planned. It was natural, as if the world had stopped just for that moment to exist. I felt the warmth of his body against mine, his fingers touching my face in a way I never imagined someone would. Our kiss was intense, a mix of repressed desire and that need to vent all the feelings accumulated for so long. His hands moved over my body, as if he were trying to decipher something in me. And, at that moment, I realized that everything I had kept inside, all the doubts, all the insecurities, were being erased by that touch, by that kiss. In the following days, he would look for me after work, and we would hide in the alleys of the city, exchanging caresses, kisses, giving ourselves to each other. The feeling of being touched by him, the strength and tenderness at the same time, made me realize that I would never be able to go back to the life I had before meeting him. He taught me, silently, what love was, what desire was, what it was to discover myself. Every kiss, every caress made me feel more alive, more at peace with myself. And it wasn't just about sex, it was about identity, about who I was. He helped me accept my sexuality, to understand that the person I thought I should be wasn't who I really was. He helped me see my true self, the person who had always been there, but had been hidden, afraid of what society might think. Our moments together became more and more intense. I knew this couldn't last forever, that he had a life to live, and that maybe our paths would separate at some point. But, in that moment, I just wanted to live in the now, without thinking about the future. I wanted to savor every second of that intense love, of that passion that consumed me. Sometimes, I catch myself thinking about how lucky I was, how that simple encounter, on that bus, changed my life forever. He didn't just show me what desire was, but he helped me understand and accept who I really am. And no matter how complicated things between us were, no matter how unfavorable the world around us was, I'll never forget those moments of passion, those kisses and caresses in the dark, and most of all, the feeling of discovering myself with him. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to the channel, and follow more reports and experiences like this.